which is none other than Porsché Mysticque Steele. I mean, even the name is fire, right? She is an independent publishing expert, TEDx speaker, and CEO of Mystique Rose Publishing Services. She helps entrepreneurs worldwide harness the power of their personal stories to bridge the gap between where they are and the transformation needed to reach their next level of success. So help me welcome to the stage, Porsché Mysticque Steele. Clap it up.
How y'all feeling? This podium is in the way, isn't it? Okay, if you're feeling good, I just need one whoop whoop. Is that everybody on there? That was everybody. One more time. If you're feeling good, give me a whoop whoop. Okay, ladies, I'm gonna ask you all to do me a favor, but I just need your permission to ask. May I ask? Okay, I would like to fill these first two rows. So if we could all just stand up and fill the seats in these first two, but not all the way to the edge. So let's leave the 3 seats on the end there. Let's snuggle up because things are going to get really real, I'm here to tell you. Okay, ladies, let's start with a question, shall we?
Down in front.
How many of you would benefit? No, let's rephrase that, shall we? How many of you know that other people would benefit from hearing your personal story?
Yes.
Just take a look around. Look at everybody who has their hands up. That says something, doesn't it? Second question, if I may. How many of you would like to share that story on a global stage? Okay, yes, thank you. Some of y'all was like, nah. Sort of, kind of, maybe, perhaps. I get it. Okay, third question. How many of you would like to share that story to generate income? Ooh. Well, I have to say, for those of you raising your hands, congratulations, because guess what? That's what we're going to learn how to do right now. Yes.
All right.
Now, we always hear about storytelling. We always talk about the power of your story. Your story is so strong. You need to tell people your story. We hear that all the time, don't we? And quite frankly, some of us may be a little tired of it. Maybe it's just me. I'm tired of hearing people say that. It's like, tell your story. Yeah, I know. But the problem is, most of us don't know how to tell it. Sometimes we don't know how far to go. Some of us have stories so crazy that we have to determine whether or not we should actually tell it, right? So we don't end up bleeding on the other people listening to our stories. I'm gonna just put something to rest, if I may. Every story has true power. And every story is a blueprint for success. See, we don't just have one story. There's no such thing as one story in our lives. Our stories, our lives are made up of multiple stories. Can we all agree that that's true? Give me a whoop whoop if you agree. Right, exactly. So if you look at your life, there's all these different stories that make up who you are, that make up the things that you know. And if you have a story, understand that that is a blueprint for success, because that means you've overcome something, you've learned something. So it stands to reason that if you share that blueprint with other people, what's going to happen? They'll also have success. Now, if I can, I'm going to start with my story. Okay, and then we're going to use my story almost like a framework on how to craft a powerful story. And then we're going to pivot so I can tell you how much money I made with my story. Sound good? Okay, so believe it or not, I'm not from California. I'm not. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Had an amazing childhood. I loved it. It was great. 2009, my family moved to California when I was 16. And 16 years old, you're thinking, I'm going to California. The glitz and glamour of Hollywood. I see the Hollywood sign. It's going to be amazing. I'm super excited, right? And I was a social butterfly back in Pittsburgh. Like, you couldn't stop me. The way I am right now, honey, this is how I was when I was a kid. I've just always been this way. 2009, we moved to Marietta. And something happened. And to this day, I can't explain why this happened, but sure enough, my father turned our family into a cult. Yeah, I know, look at those faces. Let me explain. So, when you have a head of a household who is in control of 9 people, power goes to your head. Narcissism starts to take over. Then there's all the different levels of abuse: sexual, physical, mental, emotional abuse, every single day. I wasn't allowed to go to school anymore. I had to stay home and do virtual schooling. I wasn't allowed to date. Wasn't allowed to get a job. The only time we were allowed to leave the house is when we left as a family, to make it look like everything was okay. We were at Six Flags all the time, and you would think that that was amazing, but it was all for show, right? 2009 is when it all happened. And that was my final year of I was in 11th grade. I graduated 12th grade, top 1% of my class, but it was all virtual, so I was just hating life, depressed. It was the worst. Then I got scholarships, and I had colleges calling me for admission, and my father said, no, can't go. So I actually gave him my scholarship money. Don't know where it went, but it was gone. Fast forward a little bit, I'm done with high school, so now I don't even have anything to occupy me anymore. I just am there, stuck in this household. And it's not just me, my other siblings are going through it, my mom is going through it too, we're all trapped, and it's horrible. So I had to find a way to escape. Now, we weren't allowed unsupervised time on the internet. So when the rest of the house was sleeping, all 8 other people asleep, I would sneak online at night, and I would just explore the internet. And I'm like, damn, this is what the world's really like? Who knew, right? Now, see, I didn't have money at the time, so I couldn't buy books. So I would go to websites like Wattpad or Goodreads. And authors, people who just had these awesome stories, were publishing them for free to these websites. And I was reading them and learning about the world that I was being kept from. But I'm also a natural-born grammar police. So unpublished books online are just riddled with errors, and I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, I can't do this. There's just too many typos, this is not it. So I reached out to the authors and said, hey, can I edit this? I literally have nothing else going on in my life right now. May I? They said, sure, because who's gonna say no? Free editing, right? So I was editing them, and I loved it. Slowly but surely, I ventured onto a language exchange website, and this is where I met a man from Nigeria. And I've never experienced love before, and he was fine as hell. So I was like, I'm in love with you. So slowly we began an online relationship. And he said to me one day, he said, you know you can make money off of this editing that you're doing? And I was like, say less. So I went to Upwork, I created a profile, and I became a freelance editor. Fast forward 5 years, so we're from 2009 to whatever 5 years after that, 2015, when I met him, started my profile, jumped to 2019, and I had made $15,000. But I didn't have a bank account, because when you open a bank account, you have to go to a branch to do it, if this is the first account you've ever had, and I couldn't go to a branch. They didn't know I was doing this. My father had no idea. He would very literally kill me if he knew. So I created a PayPal account, 15 grand, just sitting there. And a man that I was deeply in love with. April of 2019, my eldest sister, who got the worst of the abuse, said, Porsché, either we leave or my life ends here. And I remember looking at her face, and she's a light bright, so she's beet red, and tears are falling down her face. And I said, you know what? I got 15 grand and a man on the outside. Let's go. So, July 11th, 2019, 3 o'clock in the morning, my sister put a pillow over the alarm system that my father had, and I snuck around the back, I unlocked the door, and we took what we could carry, and we left. I had to leave my siblings behind, I had to leave my mom behind, but we did get their blessings, and we snuck out. She went to Indiana, and I flew business class to Nigeria. Best experience of my life. Wow. The day that I arrived in Nigeria, the man that I was dating this whole time proposed. I said yes. We got married 3 months later, and we've been married for 5 years. Wow. Thus began my life in Nigeria. I lived there for 4 years. I came back just last February. And in that country, I realized I had no identity. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I liked. Everything about me was decided by my father. He told us what we liked, what we could do or not do, what TV shows to watch, which food to eat. I had nothing. But I had a man who loved me and wanted to give me space to figure that out. So I did. First year I was in Nigeria, I realized that I was a blank canvas in which I could paint whatever I want. Now, one thing I'd like for you to know about me is I'm a woman who says what she means and means what she says. Everything that comes out of my mouth, you can take to the bank. Integrity is one of my biggest core values. So when I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, listen, you can do, be, and move however you want to. And there's not a damn person on this planet that will tell you otherwise. So you know what I started doing? Crafting every element of my life. The clothes I wore, the foods I ate, the things I watched on television, how much money I spent, how I treated my husband, how I treated myself. The woman that you see before you and all the things that I have done in my life, understand it has been intentional from my day one. My day one. And now, I have a publishing company. I founded it while living in Nigeria, though it's based in Montana. Yay, internet! So I have a publishing company, and I realized that my story captivates people. My story makes me unique. And I can use my story to teach other people how to tell their stories. So by 2023, I became a TEDx speaker. That same year, I became an award-winning book coach. And I was like, damn it, I figured it out. I figured out how to do this thing called storytelling. That's when I realized that I could get into book coaching, right? Because I had the experience of editing books, and one of my authors said, Porsché, can you help me publish? I told him, no, I cannot, I'm sorry. It's not something that I can do for you, I don't know how. He said, I'll give you time and money, figure it out. I said, say less, bro, I got you. So it took about 3 to 6 months to learn the independent publishing industry. I figured out why authors get scammed so often. So easy to scam an author, it's terrible, right? I figured out all the holes, the gaps that this industry had and how to fill them. He went from 14 years to 4 months. He was working on his book for 14 years. After I edited it and I published it, we did it in 4 months. He became a best-selling author, and I remember the tears falling down his face when I told him, you're a published author. That's when I realized I need to do this for forever. Fast forward a little bit more, and I really started to understand the publishing industry. For those of us who are entrepreneurs, those of us who are professionals, we are so beautifully positioned to use our story and to use our expertise to generate revenue and impact at the same time. Because you don't have to just go and serve the world and not be paid for it. You can be paid for service. And that's what we're gonna do. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah. All right, let's do it. So that's my story, right? Now you know who I am. Now you actually see me. Now I know, I'm like Tigger. Tigger's my inner spirit animal. You know Tigger from Winnie the Pooh? So I bounce around a lot. Like, that's just naturally who I am. I love that stuff. But now you know why I am the way that I am. Because I created myself to be this way, right? Now, in telling that story, there are certain things that you need to understand in order to craft your own. The first one is the problem. Now, looking at it in terms of a book, every impactful book is simply a solution to the problems that people have. That's why we read the Bible over and over and over again, because it solves the problem. Whenever we have an issue, what book do we turn to? The Bible. Every impactful book simply is a solution to the problems that people have. So when telling your story, understand the problem that your audience has. What's their issue, right? Because remember, I told you your story is a blueprint. You had an issue in your life that other people are experiencing. If you tell your story, you create that connection. So understand the problem. The second part in crafting your book is to get clear on the solution. So you dealt with something in your life. So the question then becomes, how in the world did you overcome that? Because there are people that are stuck where you were, and you're out of it now. So craft that solution. And what I love about solutions is when people put them in frameworks. There's nothing more powerful than a framework. See, a framework is a detailed step on how something is done, right? And that detailed step, it's easy to remember, it's repeatable, and it's replicable, meaning you can use it in any situation. That is a powerful framework. So figure out the problem that your audience has and develop a framework to serve as the solution. We following so far? Okay. After that, you need to have the where am I now? See, in order for people to recognize you as an authority on a particular topic, you have to prove that, yeah, you really did overcome that thing, and you're thriving in that moment. So as I told you my story, I laid out the problem. I was trapped. I was dealing with abuse, right? The solution wasn't even me. The solution was my sister. She pushed me out, and I listened to her, right? I had no identity. There's another problem. A lot of people experience identity crisis. I didn't know who I was. So I looked in the mirror and I said, well, girl, this is who you finna be now, right? Start detailing it. Then I told you where I am now. Married, 5 years, book coach, tendency, blah, 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 right? That's who I am now. The where you are now is what triggers people, because then they'll start to see in you where they could be. And there's nothing more powerful than painting that vision. We follow? Okay. And then finally, the call to action. Every story must have a CTA at the end, because that's the only way to drive your audience to their moment of success. See, I can tell you all this, but if I don't tell you what to do, you're just gonna be like, oh, Porsché, that was nice. Yeah, thanks. No, there has to be a call to action. What do I do now that I've heard your story? Because it was great and all, but I'm telling you, inspiration and motivation gets me nothing but excited. And excitement is not enough to drive a very specific result that I'm after. And at the end of the day, for most of us who are entrepreneurs, what do we want?
Results.
Money. Results is fine, whatever. Results equal money. We want money, okay? So when we have that CTA, that helps them get to their desired result, which ultimately helps you to get to your desired result, which at the end of the day is money. So how do you do that? Thought leadership is, I would say, is one of the biggest commodities in modern time, right now. Thought leadership. A thought leader is somebody who has an innovative way of thinking, doing, or being. And what I have found in recent times is that people, before they used to pay for brands, they used to pay for products, now they buy into thought leadership. Because of social media, they feel like they can connect to individuals who have the things that they want in life, right? So when they're trying to figure out where to invest their money, they're more likely to invest their money with a thought leader than with a brand, right? Thought leadership is where the money is. Can I just see a show of hands? How many of you are entrepreneurs? So almost everybody. Okay. For those of you who raised your hands, do you consider yourself to be a thought leader? Yes. Okay. You have an innovative way of thinking, doing, or being, which means you have the opportunity to educate other people to do the same thing. If you do not position your thought leadership, you're not going to be somebody worth investing in, right? We can say what we want about social media, but at the end of the day, it's the glitz and glamours that we buy into. And the thought leadership gives you the authority that is necessary to get people to buy in, right? We could do clout posting all day. I don't know if that's a real thing, but I made that up. But you know, clout posting is when you on the beach and you're like, look at me, I'm in Bali this week. And then you do another one and you're like, look at me, I'm on this stage this week. That's clout posting, right? But if you're really doing those things as part of your thought leadership, you touch people in a way that other people just aren't. And if you can be authentic with it, then you win. Am I making sense? I know there's a lot happening here, but we're breaking this down. So how do you frame your thought leadership? There are two things that you need. Number one, your personal story, and number two, your expertise. That is it. Story plus wisdom equals impact. We are still human beings. We need to drive that emotional connection. And the best way to drive emotional connection? Tell your story. Now, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. I need you to answer honestly. How many of you now feel more emotionally connected to me now that you know my story? Exactly. Okay, hands down. Before I told my story, did you feel emotionally connected to me? No. Exactly. When you influence people, the easiest way to influence people is by being your authentic self. Because there's nothing sexier than confidence, right? Being your authentic self unapologetically and sharing your story vulnerably creates that emotional connection that is needed to influence somebody, right? Then the second thing was your wisdom, your knowledge. If you're an entrepreneur, odds are you have a proprietary way of doing things. You have a method, you have a strategy. You know how you work with your clients. And even if somebody else does it, it doesn't matter because it's coming from you. You know how to get people results. So if you can take the results-driven framework that you have and combine it with your authentic story, you've produced your thought leadership. Now, the next step is to spread your thought leadership. Now, I'm not talking about going viral, because I don't know about you guys, but I suck at social media. If you do too, me and you both, girl. It doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. I got like 900 followers, and I'm following like 11,000 people. I suck at social media. It's just not for me. It's not my thing, because I don't like clout posting. I like doing what I like to do. But guess what? I'm still generating, about every month I generate about $3,000 from Instagram. And my Instagram is trash. Why? Because of my story, me being my authentic self, and my wisdom. I have established my thought leadership in a way that people, when they listen to me, they know that I'm somebody worth listening to. They know I'm not gonna BS them. They know I'm not just talking for the sake of talking, because I ain't got time to do that. I like playing video games, okay? I'd rather play video games than to BS you, because that's a waste of my time, okay? We're not gonna do that. So, spreading your thought leadership looks like many different things. But for me, the most lucrative way to spread my thought leadership was to write a book. Here's a statistic. Now, some of you, I've told you this today already. 93% of adults want to write books. 3% actually do. And 1% publish books good enough to spread their thought leadership. So what does that look like? Now you all know, yes, I am a book coach, right? So this is my jam. This is my area of expertise. How to publish a book that expands your thought leadership. First and foremost, you have to understand the simple fact. The world's most impactful books are simply solutions to the problems that people have. Can we repeat that? I'm gonna say it one more time and then you guys repeat it. The world's most impactful books are simply solutions to the problems that people have. Your turn. The world's most impactful books are simply solutions to the problems that people have. If you put your story and your wisdom into a book, and that book is surrounding a real problem that somebody has, you've won them over for forever. I've only published one book myself. I've published hundreds of books for other authors, but I myself have one best-selling book, and I only need one for right now. I plan to do more in the future, but for right now, I just have that one. Because that one book spread my thought leadership so far that I have people from other countries listening to me in a way that I didn't anticipate. I delivered my TEDx talk while I was in Nigeria. Now, when you apply for TEDx, there's all these things that you have to do. It's a whole process, y'all. It's just a whole process. But when I applied using my story and my thought leadership, my wisdom. And I got it on the first try. I only applied to one and I secured it. Being a TEDx speaker and an author sent me flying, skyrocketed, right? So, taking your story, putting it in a book with your wisdom creates your thought leadership, okay? It does not have to be a huge book. It doesn't have to be your legacy book. It has to be your business book, guys. It should detail what you do in your business because you know what you're gonna do with that? You're going to leverage it. There are 13 revenue streams for every book created. Every book can be monetized 13 different ways. I am only tapping into 5 of them, and I generate 10,000 every single month after each month. Some months I don't do so great, but this month we're doing great. Woo! Okay? But the idea is that you should be making 5 figures from your book, month after month after month, because there are 13 ways to do it. Numero uno, I turned my book into an online course. My book is the exact framework that my online course follows. Okay? That's the first one. Second one, and this was the most lucrative, I turned my book into a virtual summit. See, the day that I launched my book, nobody knew that it was a book launch. I hosted a virtual summit for free, and I made $30,000 in one day. And I'm just gonna give you the game really quick because we're limited on time. Here's how I did that. Virtual summit was free. I'm gonna detail it, so you gotta write down facts. Y'all ready? Free virtual summit. I brought in 4 speakers. These speakers are bigger, badder, faster, stronger than I am, right? These are my friends that are doing things that I wish I was doing. I didn't have an audience at the time. They did. They agreed to be my speaker, so I was like, yo, send this out to your email list. Tell your people to come. I had over 100 people register for that summit. It was virtual, so only 70-something showed up, right? Because you know how virtual things go. That's what happened. Then we had upsell, ticket upsell. Hey, it's free for you to attend, but you can get a $47 ticket, VIP. VIP access gave you gifts from my friends, and it gave you access to a pre-party that I was doing. $47, we sold 70-something of those. Then I had 3 call to actions on that virtual summit. Call to action number 1, buy the new book. See, the book is $12.99, but I'm only making $5.03 every time I sold. So I definitely wasn't hitting 30 grand that way. But that was call to action number 1. Call to action number 2, I have a workbook, $17. If you're loving this summit and you're loving the information that my friends are giving, go buy the workbook, $17. We sold about 50 of those. Then, call to action number 3, and this is the moneymaker. If you're loving what you're hearing, schedule a call with me. I had 22 people book a call. 8 of them became clients. And they purchased items anywhere between my $350 coaching session or my $8,000 publishing package, right? Now, I'm a good closer, I will say that. But when I get somebody on a call, I know how to close because I know how to speak to their soul and to their actual problem without manipulating them or using tactics. I don't do sales. We do conversations, right? So those 3 call to actions were revenue generators. Plus the ticket upsell, that's the 4th revenue generator. That one event had 4 streams of revenue, $30,000 in one day. Now all of this is all on my LinkedIn. So you just Google search my name, you see it all there, it's broken down, you can follow the same thing, steal it, do it, make your money. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the crux of it, which is my story. My story drives emotion. And when I feel people are connected to me, then we can start talking about how to help them, right? Tell your story, but frame it in a way that is beneficial for the people around you, the people who need to hear it. Don't tell your story for the sake of telling it. We have so many. Choose the right one. If it's a problem that other people have, that's the story you need to tell. And if you have a solution, that's the story that you need to tell. Put it into a book, spread your thought leadership. Now, how many of you, I want you guys to take a pledge for me. How many of you feel like you're ready to start spreading your story? Can I see show of hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 6. I'm sorry, Tammy, I'm sorry, my bad. I thought you. Okay, ladies, I want you to take a pledge for me. I want you to pull out your phone and go to spreadmystorynow.com. Spreadmystorynow.com. That's going to direct you to my personal calendar. We're going to have a conversation. If you feel like you are ready to spread that story, you're ready to expand your thought leadership, you're ready to make that happen, get on my calendar. No obligation. We're here to have a conversation. If I can help you, great. If not, no problem. I bet you I know somebody who can. Now, I have a table in the back. On that table. Is that 10 minutes? Oh, good. We have time for questions. On my table in the back, I have some fun stuff back there. Number 1, I have bookmarks that I would love for all of you entrepreneurs to get. 5 mistakes entrepreneurs make when publishing their book. Ooh, ooh, so many people lose money when they're publishing their book, and there's so many great ways to not do that. And then the other one, 5 ways to generate revenue from your book. But I'm gonna pause there. Make sure you guys go back to my table. For those of you who are ready to spread your story, go to spreadmystorynow.com, get on my calendar, let's have a conversation. Questions. And I want y'all to lob them at me, okay? I want the toughest questions. Who wants to go? Ain't nobody got no questions. Okay, yes, ma'am.
What if you have a story and you know your story?
You okay?
Does she need water?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Go to the next person. Okay. Who was first? Did you raise your hand? Yes.
So what if you have a story that you're not ready to like put others out there?
So yes. Oh, yes. She said, what if you have a story that involves other people and you're not ready to push that story out, correct?
Well, I'm ready to put it out there. Like give tips on keeping the anonymity of those involved.
How to not put other people on blast when sharing your story. So that's a good one. So I'm going to tell my story, right? My story was, you heard, it's quite interesting, right? There are so many other people involved in that story, my mom being one of them. My mom is actually here today, right? I had to ask her for her permission. I said, Mom, I want to tell this story. It's going to be part of my TEDx talk. Do I have your permission to do that? She was apprehensive. But I explained to her what it meant to me to be able to do that, and she told me to go ahead. But if she had told me no, I was prepared to craft the story in a way that did not include her, right? I don't care about it. So my dad is very much aware. He lives in Burbank. He's very much aware of, what I do. He hates my guts, but it got to a point where I just didn't care. So for legal purposes, I don't use his name, right? Because I don't need to be sued for defamation. The other thing is I do, when you're telling your story and it's a powerful one, I recommend that you have a lawyer, right? So for those of you who do not have a lawyer, please get one. But my lawyer advised that I refrain from using his name or his likeness in anything that I do. So I never do. So I just say my dad. For those who know my dad, sorry, there's nothing I can do about that, but I don't use his information. Yes, ma'am.
So I've got a question regarding cost and revenue.
Yes.
Right? So from a cost perspective, outside of time,
Mhm.
the time commitment to actually sit down and write your book,
Yes.
right? Based on your story.
Mm-hmm.
In the marketing of your book,
Yeah.
right? This the summit that you created.
Mm-hmm.
What's the monetary commitment from your perspective,
Mm-hmm.
outside of like your coaching,
Right.
costs for your coaching, the monetary commitment that an individual would have to have in order to market the book and create a summit, a virtual summit?
Okay, so she asked, how much does it cost to put a summit on? So, I invested $3,000 in putting my summit together. So a summit has different things that require payment. First of all, it's the platform, right? So I have Zoom, $15 a month, easy. You need an email marketing system. I use Kartra. I pay $219 a month for Kartra. Kartra has all the automations that need set up. Then there's the automation. I'm not an automations expert, so I had to hire somebody to do that. She charged me $300. So $300, she set up all of the emails that needed to be in there. I also ran ads, right? So I had an ad spend of $500, and I did a campaign for 14 days, right? But also not an ad manager, so I had to hire the person to run the campaign, and that was $250, I think it was, right? So ultimately, you're looking at about $3,000. Yes.
I had the same question about after writing class. My story is I came out of
Yeah.
But very, sorry, young, strong life, and that he will attack, right?
Mm.
He will try to come after me if I go and say anything.
Yes.
So that's kind of where, that's one of my stories. I have several stories, but that's one of them that I believe, because I'm a financial strategist, and how I was able to get out was because I had that financial independence.
Right.
Women need to realize you gotta have your money right before you get into any situation. You never know what's gonna happen. So how do I deal with that type of scenario?
So her question is, how does she protect herself when telling the story of a domestic abuse partner, so that you don't get in trouble, but also he doesn't come and attack you? Okay, one thing that I will say, so I had an author, her name was Charity. She had a very similar situation. So her husband was a very well-known pastor who was also very abusive. We wrote the whole book, and the day that we were supposed to launch it, she decided against it because she felt like she got what she was looking for was to overcome it herself, right? So she found that the entire process of putting the book together was very cathartic, and that's all she needed. She didn't need to put it out. What I will say this is not every story needs to be shared on a global scale. Some of them may just be for your clients who've had that particular situation, right? So you can feel free to share that in intimate settings. But if you decide that, no, Porsché, this book does need to be out into the world, then I would say you need to take a look at yourself and make sure that it's something that you can do. Having a lawyer is going to be the first thing, because you're going to need a protective order, right? So if you can get a protective order against him, fine. If you have any communication with him and you choose that you want to use his name, you're going to have to get his permission to use his information or his likeness in the book. Again, a lawyer will be able to help you decide that. Now, to protect yourself, my advice to you specifically would be to not produce that book because you feel like your safety is at stake, and it is not worth it. You're an incredible woman, an incredible entrepreneur, and you're helping people financially. So even though the domestic violence part is a part of that, it doesn't sound like it's necessary for you to put it out there. So I would ask you don't do that. Mhm. Yes. No, because it depends. See, she's a financial coach, right? So her deep story may be her money story. It may detail the abuse, but it's not centered around the abuse. She's not helping abused women. She's helping people with money problems. So it's a part of her story, which means she doesn't have to go into detail about it. She's going to develop that emotional connection by talking about her money problems, because that's what her audience cares about. Does that make sense? Okay, yes.
Sort of, I want to clarify because I was already in a little chat, if that was something that we're going to speak for you now, if that was something that she wanted to do as a separate part, and it may not be for her financial conditions or for whoever's situation, but is there a business in doing that under like an author name versus your name, and still writing the book, having a business partner for these, and affecting people that don't necessarily run with your circle, but
Yeah.
maybe do something?
Absolutely. So I'm a huge advocate of having multiple brands, right? So I myself, I'm a book coach, but I'm also the editor-in-chief of The Hidden Vine, which is a Temecula-based publication. But I'm also a foodie and an influencer. So I'm also a dancer, right? So there's all these different things that I have different social media accounts for. Those different social media accounts allow me to build audiences for those different spaces. So in her case, if she decided that she wants to focus on abused women or women experiencing domestic violence, she can. That's going to be a completely different brand identity that she now has to create, and a whole new platform that she's going to have to build so that they don't clash. Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be a false name. Mine is still under my name. I wouldn't say it has to be under a false name. She just has to know her different audience. They won't fully mix, right? Because the people who want money aren't really gonna care about the other stuff, unless they do. And they may migrate over, but if she has these two different brand identities, she'll be able to grow and scale them separately. Yeah. Yes, for the fear, she could have a pseudonym. She could. That is my time, right? I hope that was helpful to you, ladies. Thank you so much. My table's in the back. Feel free to come on back. And for those of you who went to spreadmystorynow.com, I can't wait to get on our session. Thank you.